Now available in paperback and Kindle, All About Marilyn. Learn all about the struggles of a faded former teen sitcom star in this absolutely fabulous 5-star screenplay. Get All About Marilyn in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com today. I had a chance to take a look at King Richard on HBO Max this weekend. And I wasn't able to take a look at the film earlier because I have been so busy with multiple projects and making numerous videos that viewers requested, and I haven't had a moment to really get some free time to look at the film. But after looking at King Richard this Saturday, I was absolutely floored at how great this film was, and I have to say that this film is not only a great film that I definitely recommend, I have to say it is the best picture of 2021. And I definitely see Oscar nominations for Will Smith for playing Richard Williams and John Barenthal for playing the coach of Venus and Serena Williams. Now, King Richard follows the story of Richard Williams, the father of tennis superstars and icons Venus and Serena Williams, and his quest to make his daughters into tennis champions. Now, this story of Richard Williams is one that I really related to because as a black man, I could relate to many of the struggles that Richard Williams went through to go out here and try to make a better life for his daughters, because I saw my own father doing many of these very same things and having to deal with a lot of the same resistance that Richard Williams received in the film. And it's the same resistance I receive oftentimes when I try to go out here and do positive things. So I definitely could relate to a lot of what Richard Williams went through in this film, because Richard Williams sat there in the early part of the film talking about the racism he encountered from whites and how that was one of the motivations for him to go out here and try to make a better life for his daughters in Compton. And as he was trying to deal with his own issues as related to racism with whites, he was dealing with the self-hatred of blacks who had been programmed with the idea that they were gangbangers and were out here trying to make life hard for his daughters. Now, what I liked about some of the early scenes in the movie was seeing Richard Williams being a black father and having to deal with all of the obstacles that he was running into. A black female neighbor who was out here trying to promote negativity against him, and he was pushing back on that, and then pushing back against the gangbangers, showing us that a decent brother out here has to deal with a lot of resistance, even in his own community, as he's trying to go out here and build a better life for himself and his family. So I definitely related to that scene because I saw that with my own father growing up, and I see it in my own personal life. And I can see, Richard Williams out here. I knew what he was running into because I wrote about it in Spellbound, and I also deal with it every day. So I saw what he was going through in those scenes, and I knew that was real, and it was something that everybody, you need to really think about those scenes, because when Richard Williams was in those scenes where these gangbangers are talking about his daughter, I mean, that showed great character for him to just stand up for his daughters, because these gangbangers, they didn't really care about anybody or even themselves. All they were thinking about was their so-called turf, which was really something owned by the white man, and all they wanted to do was disrespect his daughters, and he stood up and protected his daughters because he wanted them to be able to have success. And that's something many people really, they don't really appreciate, because they don't really appreciate black fathers and the role that they provide in the community. And that was one of the things I like seeing in this film, was seeing early on your Will Smith playing Richard Williams, the father in South Central, going out here showing us how important a black father is in the success of a child, because he took the time to invest in his daughters early on, and it was those lessons that he showed that showed us a true picture of black manhood and showed us a true picture of black masculinity. And we rarely get to see that picture of manhood and masculinity presented on screen, because in gynocentric white supremacist Hollywood, they oftentimes are showing us the black father as a deadbeat, the black father as a loser, and the black father as not caring. But in this film, we see that the black father is active in the children's life, and we see that the black father has to deal with a lot of enemies inside of his community as he's trying to work towards building a better life for his family. Now, as your Richard Williams is out here trying to make that better life for his daughters by going out by day, out here picking up balls that people threw in the garbage to make sure that his daughters had equipment to work with, and pitching his daughters to different people to try to get a coach. We also see the character this man has by working security late at night so that those daughters could have a roof over their heads. So we see those parts of that black man's life, that he's out here providing for his family. We see him protecting his family. We see him caring for his family. And you have to know what that is in order to, you have to actually experience that. And I experienced that with my own father. But a lot of black women, they'll sit out here and talk about how the father isn't doing anything. But these are the small things that your black fathers go out here and do every day to ensure that his children are taken care of and to ensure that their lives are made better. Now, as the film goes on, we see Richard Williams having to deal with these gangbangers, and he's at the point where he's thinking about trying to take one of them out. And that's where I see how there's a subplot where they're talking about God, because Richard Williams is a Seventh-day, I don't know what I think he's a Jehovah's Witness, not a Seventh-day Adventist, a Jehovah's Witness. And we see how God works things out so he doesn't have to take out this gang member. The gang member gets taken out, and that prevents him from going out here and trying to go after the guys, after Richard Williams' daughters, and he's then able to go out here and push to keep his daughters on the road to working towards becoming tennis stars. Now, Richard Williams, as the movie goes on, he manages to get a coach to coach Venus for free, but then he's smart enough to tape her coaching sessions, and then the mother has Serena working on those taped tennis lessons. And that's a brilliant move, because it shows how Richard Williams was playing chess, working on the long game, working to improve one daughter on the outside, but then working on the inside to help the life of his other daughter, Serena. And as they're working towards building that life on the tennis courts, we get one of these black females who is out here, a neighbor who decides to call up the Child Protective Services on them. And I love that scene, because Richard Williams cold checked all of those white police officers and those white social workers, and he came out and honestly said, yes, I am hard on my daughters. And I love seeing that scene, because a man has to be hard on his daughters because he's preparing his daughters for that world out there. And that was a scene I also related to as a man, because I know how hard this world is. And any father who loves his daughter, he's going to prepare his daughter for that world, and he's not going to be out here trying to make things easy for them. No, he's going to let her know that, look, this world is not going to be an easy place. This world is going to be a rough place, and you have to be prepared to survive in that world. And now they called, because he said he had his daughters playing in the rain, but he had them playing in the rain for two reasons. Because one reason was because he knew that in certain games that there's going to be rain in the game, and two, he wanted to toughen up their discipline and their resolve. And that was another thing I really loved about King Richard, is it showed many of the approaches and methods that black fathers and fathers use to go out here and prepare their children for the world. So a lot of people don't really understand why fathers are hard on their kids. A lot of people don't understand what fathers are trying to do. But this film shows you what fathers are trying to do when they're raising their kids. And I remember one scene when Venus won the trophies, and they were starting to brag. And people would say, oh, him leaving them on the street like that was abuse. But no, what he was trying to say is, you cannot get too cocky out here, because when you get cocky out here, you can practically lose everything. And that was a point that Dondra T. Whitfield made in his own book, Male versus Man. He was talking about how he was coaching his son and how the team had gotten real cocky and thought they had it made, and then they took a big loss and they couldn't handle the loss. And that's that. And when I watched the scene in King Richard, it brought me back to what Dondra T. Whitfield had said in this book. But that was what Richard Williams was trying to teach, that you got to learn how to be humble when you win, because if you get too cocky, it can lead to you winding up not being able to deal with losing. Now, they do show some character flaws with Richard Williams in this film. They show how he's having issues with his wife as related to the way he is parenting the girls, and they show how he has some fears about success. But what I really see it as, some people seeing, flaws in Richard Williams, but I see it as, he was human, and but the whole thing was his faith kept him going. And that was the thing that really came out to me, was he had this strong faith in his daughters and strong faith in God. And even though he had those fears, he still persevered. And a lot of people, they question his decisions, like him saying that he didn't want his girls to play in juniors, but he wanted them to play pro. And a lot of people thought that that decision was a bad decision. But as a father, he saw that this was a bad road for his daughters. And that was something that also came out to me, because when you have a daughter and she's out here with all these different girls and they're giving her ideas, that's when I understood what Richard Williams was doing. He was protecting his daughters, because he knew they would get out here with these other females, and these other females would give them crazy ideas, and then they would wind up like Jennifer Capriati was in the film. They talk about how she was running away into a hotel room with some runaways and smoking pot. So he didn't want his daughters to go out down that road, and that's why he kept them out of the juniors, because he knew that there were a lot of negative influences on the girls in juniors. Again, people really do not understand the things that fathers do in this country, because we're so gynocentric, and because we're so gynocentric, we really do not understand that there's a method to many of the things that fathers do that we consider madness, but those things make logical sense in the big picture and at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, when you have a father in the home and you have the father going out here and balancing things out like Richard Williams did, yes, he gave them strong discipline and he gave them strong coaching and he brought them quality coaches, but he also made sure that they were able to relax and have a balanced life. So he understood the concept of balance as related to children, and that was something else that I saw that was presented very well in the film, showing how this father, yes, he brought strong discipline and strong structure in his home, but he also made sure that if his children were doing well, they also had leisure time in structured activities like going to Disney World, and making sure that the daughters were safe from many of the predators out there, like the gangbangers, like the bitter black woman across the street, and like many of the white females who were at the clubs that his daughters went to. He made sure that his daughters were protected from all of those types of predators, and made sure that they were in a healthy environment where they could grow. So a lot of things in this film were very relatable when it came down to black men, black manhood, and black fathers. And a lot of things are in here that only a father or a man would really understand about raising children. Because a lot of people think, oh, a father's just there to be this guy who enforces discipline. No, a father is there to provide structure and provide order, and he's also there to help a daughter navigate a course to a road to success, and he is there to ensure that his daughter is protected on that road to success from many of the predators that were out there. So I saw that later on in a scene where Venus has a chance at getting the Nike deal, and the father shows you another lesson about not taking the first offer. And when you take the first offer, it just shows you're too eager and too desperate. And a lot of things are in this film that, again, only a man would understand, because there are things there that are key to a man and raising children. But I also like the fact that they show the mother out here supporting Richard Williams by going out here and checking that woman who called Child Protective Services. I love that scene, seeing her go straight up to that woman's house and letting her know that she's standing by her man and showing respect for her husband, because that scene right there showed how she says that, look, this is my house and you're going to respect my man and respect my home. And that was one of the great scenes in there. Now, there were some other scenes where they showed they had a couple of issues between them, but they always kept it between them and they did not bring it out in front of the kids. So that's another thing I liked about seeing in this movie, was seeing how a balanced family deals with conflict. So King Richard, I have to say, is one of the best films of this year, and I'd have to say it is the best picture of 2021. And this film is a loving tribute from Venus and Serena Williams to their father. And I have to say that they follow the Bible in honoring their father by making this great tribute to him in this absolutely fantastic film. And I have to say, Will Smith gives the best performance of his career. I have not seen a person take on a real life person like this since Denzel Washington became Malcolm X almost 30 years ago in Spike Lee's Malcolm X. Your Will Smith practically becomes Richard Williams, and when you start to see the actual footage of Richard Williams in the closing credits and you see Will Smith's performance, there is absolutely no difference between the two. That is how powerful the performance is of Will Smith here, and I have to say it is his best performance in a film ever. I mean, this is what I would consider his signature role, and I would consider it to be the role I would definitely say he deserves to get a Best Actor Oscar for, because he becomes Richard Williams, and you can feel every emotion that Richard Williams has for his daughters, and you can definitely feel the love that Richard Williams has for his daughters on screen in this performance. Now, the other performance I believe deserves a Best Supporting Actor Oscar is John Barenthal as Richard Williams and Venus and Serena Williams' coach. And John Barenthal, who I only knew as the Punisher on the Netflix series as Frank Castle, I no longer see him as Frank Castle anymore. I mean, this performance, when I look at the tape of the coach and I look at John Barenthal's performance, he practically becomes this guy. And again, he deserves a Best Supporting Actor Oscar, because you will never see him as the Punisher anymore after you watch this movie. I mean, fantastic performance from John Barenthal, and fantastic performance from the actresses who play Venus and Serena Williams, and fantastic performances from the woman who plays Richard Williams' wife, and just great overall performances, great story, and an absolutely fantastic film that many people went out here and did not go see because they bought into the narratives of black feminists and white feminists who wanted to hate on this film. And the only reason why they wanted to hate on this film is because it presented a positive example of black manhood, it presented a positive example of black masculinity, and it showed a positive example of how a father has a positive impact on the life of his children, and it showed how a father's faith can lead to a child having success. And that was another thing that I loved about this film, was your Richard Williams believed in his children just like he believed in God, and because he believed in his children and had faith in his children, God blessed his children to become the greatest tennis players of all time. And that's one of the things I loved about this film, was how it showed how Richard Williams' faith in God and faith in believing in his children help them to become successes. And that's something your feminists do not like, seeing a father in the home, because a father, when he's out here nurturing his children, he is believing in his children. He is nurturing his children to believe in themselves. He is building up their confidence. He's building up their self-esteem. And that's all. There was so much in this film that showed you how much of an impact a father has on his children. But your feminists didn't want people to see this because they want you to believe in single mother households, the welfare state, and dysfunction. But this film shows us how a father transforms a daughter's life, and it shows us how a father can make the difference between a champion and a baby mama. So I love this film, and I highly recommend you go out here and see King Richard. This is the crown jewel of black films, and it is a crown jewel that pays tribute to a great black father and shows us a great positive example of black men, black manhood, and black fatherhood. Now, if you want to see me make more film review videos like this, where I talk about great films like King Richard, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, and the Thetas, an inspiring, uplifting black sorority story, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Give in to temptation and pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today.